Something I've noticed is that fear doesn't stop you from functioning. It just quietly controls your decisions. It shows up as overthinking, as perfectionism, as hesitation to be seen.
Welcome to Conscious Matters. I'm Melissa. On this channel, I talk about empowerment through mindset and mindfulness. For me, for example, at some point, I was extremely fearful of being seen. For whatever reason, I was extremely afraid to show my face on social media, not in personal life, but everything related to professional. It was really, really hard for me to show my face with my work on the internet. So at the beginning of this podcast, I would not even turn on the camera. Guess we're literally speaking to a black screen. Even on Instagram, it was only images of landscapes, of arts of other people. I will spend a lot of time writing the captions, sharing my work in that sense with the writing, but never with showing my face. So it was a beautiful layout, but inspiring captions. To me, it felt so real that it was really hard to transcend it. It felt very restrictive to me because I felt like I was aligned with what I was doing. I wanted to share as much as possible, but I felt like I was not sharing as much as I could. And that fear was hindering my expansion. If we dig a little bit deeper, we can notice that these fears stem from past experiences, learned behaviors, because many of our fears are actually the fears of our parents or the people that we spend time with in childhood. We just borrowed their fears, if I can say. So learned behaviors are societal influences, and they can hold us back unnecessarily. So when you look back, you can realize that these fears are not even yours in the first place, or they were just legitimate at one time in your life, in one specific situation. It doesn't mean that the same scenario will keep on repeating itself. The most important thing is to realize fears triggering our fight or flight response way too often can significantly impact our daily life and decision-making processes, and not in a way that supports our growth. It can make you overthink, seeing the worst case scenario all the time, and trapping you in this fearfulness of so many things, and then limiting yourself to go and take some calculated risk, exposing yourself to certain environments, to certain people, to travel, to connect with others, to explore different lands. It's so limiting. So again, I'm not undermining any fears. Your fears can seem irrational, but to you, it's very rational, it's very serious, and only you is the judge of, is it a rational fear, is not a rational fear? That's you. You are in charge of your own life. You are in charge of your growth. You are responsible for your thoughts and emotions and the way that you want to go about your path. But sometimes it's really hard to overcome certain fears that are very ingrained in our psyche. For me, it was a gradual process, going one step at a time, not rush the process so you don't re-traumatize yourself because you don't feel ready to overcome a certain fear and you just push yourself too fast and too hard. For the first year, I started static pictures. A year later, I managed to just show my face on photos and having the audio snippet of the podcast running through the picture itself. And then little by little, I did a very short video where I was talking to the camera. Then I realized, wait, it's not that much of a big deal actually. I can do it. And why is because before even putting the first picture, I did the work within myself. Like, why is this fear trying to teach me? Why am I so afraid of being seen by others? And then I realized it was because of my perfectionism tendencies. It has to look a certain way in order for me to release the work, to release something and put my face or my name on it.
What I thought was fear was actually my inner critic trying to protect me from being judged.
How self-critical and self-judgmental I was with myself at something that I started that I didn't know anything about. So obviously you start as a beginner, but again, forgetting that part that I was supposed to be perfect right away and thinking that the outside world will be as harsh in their judgment and critics of my work. And then other things that I kept on uncovering down the line. But it was very interesting to know more about myself, and it felt liberating to reframe all of that and expose myself to it little by little. It was really hard at first to release the videos, but with practice, with understanding why and seeing that your mission or whatever you believe in is so much bigger than your fear itself, is so much easier, or at least a guarantee that you will overcome it with time and effort. My mission is so much bigger than my fear. If I keep on staying in this fearful state, I'm preventing others from my knowledge, from what I have to share, from my own uniqueness and personality. So the core element in overcoming fear is mindfulness. Not only mindfulness to observe your thoughts without judgment, but also acceptance. Accepting that, yes, I'm fearful right now. Why acceptance is so important, because once you accept a situation, first of all, it has less power over you, and you start to approach it from curiosity rather than judgment. Why do I have this fear? Where is it coming from? What is the trigger of that fear? So on and so forth. Plus, not only accepting the fear to see it in a different way, but also accepting the fear shows you that a fear is an external element. And you know that you have control over your thoughts and your actions. So it will be harder to accept that an external element has control over your actions. And then you start seeing it from a more detached perspective, a higher perspective. Your fear starts to feel a little bit less personal and more of that thing over there that I want to detach myself from. When you start reflecting on what your fears are trying to teach you about yourself, about your perspective on life even, you are left with opportunities to develop new skills, new insights, and qualities. In my case, if I take my former fear of being seen, it taught me so much about myself, like why I was thinking like that, how my perfectionism tendencies were controlling me in a way and limiting my vision, and realizing the more I was exposing myself to something that was fearful to me, especially on YouTube afterwards, 2.5 years after starting the podcast, it showed me that first of all, I'm capable, and second of all, like people don't really care at the end of the day. So the whole scenario that you set in your mind is so much bigger than what it is in reality. Once you're not fearful anymore, it has so much less power over you. You feel so liberated and freer, but also as if you expanding. And that's magnificent in itself. It's of course uncomfortable, very much so, especially at the beginning when you keep on trying to face your fear, whatever that fear might be. But that's when you have to embrace discomfort as an evidence that you are growing and expanding your abilities. So yes, you feel uncomfortable, but acknowledge and celebrate the courage that it takes to face your fears. Because at first, it's gonna be a lot of setbacks and challenges and roadblocks when you face that fear. Some days it's gonna be easier than others. Some days you will manage, other days you will go back into your old ways. But again, to keep on showing up for yourself, recognizing your resilience and your strength is equally important as doing your best to face your fears. Because fears are so debilitating, they're so hindering, they're so restrictive. And the goal is to live a life of full freedom, inner freedom, to not feel trapped inside of yourself. And you can learn how to harness the power of your fears, or at least the power behind your fears, and use it as a catalyst for personal growth. Once you switch your mindset, everything that you saw as a negative are just opportunities for growth. And down the line, your fears will just be a memory of your past, but not your reality anymore. Share in the comment section, what is the biggest fear you're facing right now that you want to let go of? Most of us have common fears, so it will be very interesting to see the similarities of our fears in the comment section and how we can help each other out.
If this resonates, it usually means your fear isn't random. It's patterned. And most of the time, it's your inner critic trying to protect you. I created something that helps you start noticing how it actually speaks. The Mindset Reset Starter Guide. You can download it for free by clicking on the link in the description box below.
Stay true, keep showing up for yourself, and let your soul lead the way.